So thank you everyone for attending this call here with Stephane. I'm very excited to have him here to talk about linked data and his new module, the RDF Indexer, and also just talk about how ESIP can be, just sort of a source for RDF and usages of linked data and just sort of the use cases for that and his module. So I'll turn this over to Stephane, and then maybe we'll do a little questions and answers at the end there, or Stephane, just if it makes more sense to do it during your talk, that's fine too. And then we'll wrap up with just some notes from Bruce about the Drupal lab for the ESIP meeting next month. So Stephane, I'll mute myself and turn it over to you.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Adam. So I think I'll take maybe half an hour for a slide plus a demo at the end. So I'm going to present an update on what's available in Drupal 7 to use the semantic web and linked data. So my name is Stephane Corlosquet, and some people know me as core on Drupal.org. I've been with Drupal for 7 years. I work at Acquia. I provide hosting and support and other services around Drupal. And I also work for Mind Informatics out of MGH here in Boston, where I build Drupal sites for the group, and our goal is to build online communities around biomedical communities. So I'm also involved with the RDF work that's present in Drupal 7. I'm also a member of the Drupal security team. I co-authored the definitive guide to Drupal 7. I co-maintain several concrete modules relating to RDF and sparql and other semantic web technologies. I also happen to be a member of the RDF working group at the administration. So first I'm going to present quickly the semantic web. I'm sure many of you know what it is. I'll just highlight the key aspects that I like about it, and that drove me to researching it and using it more. So the web today is very fragmented. We have lots of communities, lots of data silos that we use every day, and it's hard to make these data silos communicate with each other. So we have our data scattered all around in several islands, and how do we make these data connect to each other, and how can we use all of this data together? So there's a growing amount of information online. People publish blog posts, news, leave comments, and lots of platforms like Facebook, Google+, Twitter, and so it's an ongoing growing process where more and more data ends up online. So there's also a vast amount of devices out there that are used to push data online, and it's increasing, and we need to do something about how can we leverage this data. So machines can help us, but on the web, what machines see generally is HTML with links, so mostly plain text with links, and sometimes they try to extract some more information from there, but it's ambiguous and it's not clear how machines see our data. So with this growing amount of information, how can we help machines do a better job of helping us searching through the information? So the vision of the semantic web, it's something that Tim Berners-Lee came up with. It's transitioning towards a giant global graph. So the web, as we know today, is a form of content plus links, HTML content plus hyperlinks, and we want to add some relationships to these pages and more descriptions inside these pages, inside these documents, to build this giant global graph. And then the ultimate goal is to make the web, the semantic web, a universal medium for data and knowledge exchange. So you can see this as an evolution. On the bottom left corner, we started with computers and then TCP/IP, and slowly we're moving from documents to concepts and entities as part of a graph. And RDF is the standard that you can use to do that, to describe this information. And then there's the concept of the one machine where everything is connected. All the devices are connected, and now they share data, they push data around. So the key to achieve this is to agree on standards, and W3C is the main body for creating standards for the web, and then also opening data or sharing data, whatever data you can share, is also a great initiative. So let's look at linked data now. So many people have been aware of this semantic web initiative for a long time, and they started publishing data. And this initiative came out a few years back, where there were more and more data sets linking to each other, and some folks decided to list all of these data sets and have the interlinked open data cloud. So you can find lots of information there. These databases are scattered around the web, but you can see here they contain a lot of all sorts of information about, coming from government or publications, life science, etc. And many organizations are providing open data at the moment, like the BBC and governments from the US and the UK. Wikipedia is also another well-known. It's a Wikipedia extraction. And then there are two interesting projects coming out, which I think will grow much larger than the others. Wikidata, it's kind of the successor to DBpedia. It's a Wikimedia Foundation initiative to express all the data, or at least the info boxes data and the links across pages from Wikipedia in a structured data database, and to drive Wikipedia's content from that centralized Wikidata database. And that's a project funded by Google and others. So there's lots of money behind, and I think it's a promising project. And Freebase, a similar project. It's also a knowledge base. He started as a separate company, and it was bought by Google a few years back. And that's what's driving the knowledge graph at the moment, Google's knowledge graph. So rich snippets, a quick reminder for those who don't know. So rich snippets are these enriched search results you can see when you do a search online, when there are more elements than just the strings that matching your keywords. So the goal here is to present more interesting and informative results to the users, so the users don't have to go and browse the entire web to find what they're looking for. So slowly search engines are trying to get smarter, and ultimately they're trying to be able to answer your question, to guess what you want and answer the question right away without you having to read several web pages to find the information you're looking for. So this is all done via structured data that is found in HTML of your site. And so search engines are very keen on collecting this structured data, and they use that also for building their knowledge graph. And it's also important to know that most search engines only index HTML as far as we know, so that's why it's important to consider having structures in HTML, and that's something that Drupal can help with. Schema.org, very briefly, that's this initiative from the search engines. Again, that's directly related to structured data in HTML. It has hundreds of types and hundreds of properties. This is a big picture view of all the types. And so if you go to a type, you can see all the properties, and you can use that to annotate your content.
there is a schema.org module for Drupal, and it basically allows you to annotate each of your content types and each of your fields and map them to a type from schema.org or a property from schema.org. This is how the UI looks like. This is when you're editing a content type, this is what you see. You can choose what type from schema.org you want to map to your content type. And same for the fields. This is all embedded in the administrative UI. And at the bottom of each field, you can specify the property from schema.org that corresponds to this field. And this is the type of search results you can get today that Drupal is capable of building and that Google can retrieve and present. And this is the URL for the module that you can download for free from Drupal.org. Okay, so now let's look quickly at the architecture that is used for modeling RDF in Drupal 7. So first thing to know is that there is no fixed data structure in Drupal. It's very much user-driven because site administrators can build their data models the way they want. So they create several content types, and then they add fields to these content types, and then they create nodes. That basically instantiate a given content type and have all the fields that were set up for this content type. And when we export in RDF, we map each of these concepts to an RDF concept. So content types will become an RDF class, fields become an RDF property, and nodes become a resource in RDF. So you have access to the same UI. There's no change. This is all the information that we use for building the RDF. And so this is the node, and you can see all the fields being displayed. That again, the display is something that you can customize. The layout of your page is something you can customize. But essentially, you can get structured data out of your database into HTML. So there's an RDF mapping API in Drupal 7. So by default, it comes with several mappings from Prof, Shock, Dublin Core, and SCOS. And these mappings are output in RDFA inside the HTML. But you can change these mappings to include other vocabularies like schema.org or any custom vocabulary. And you can do that using contributed modules. This is the default mappings that come in Drupal 7 out of the box, but then you can change these. Now the core itself has some limitations that are good to know. So because we released Drupal 7 6 months before schema.org was released, we don't have any schema.org mappings out of the box, although this is planned to be fixed for Drupal 8. There's also no UI for setting the mappings in core, although there are some in contrib. And only the core fields are supported out of the box. But some of the contrib fields, like more complex contrib fields like address field and site store, are not yet supported. There's also non-native support for views and panels, but Display Suite 2.0 is known to work. So a lot of the issues above can be fixed by downloading contributed modules, and like I said, we're using this for improving the RDF experience in Drupal 8. So here is a bunch of modules that you can download to improve the RDF of your site. RDF extensions is a module to have other formats as output, like RDF XML or Turtle, and there's also a mapping UI as part of this module. RDF Indexer is kind of the highlight of this presentation, and I will go into details later. It provides a way to have a sparql endpoint over your data.
sparql views is the other way around. Display data from a remote sparql endpoint into your Drupal site. And JSON-LD is a newer module that's exposing data, serializing RDF as JSON-LD, which is a new standard, not yet finished, but almost finished as part of the RDF working group. So, so this module is available. And worth noting also is features. It's good. It's a good module to use if you're doing lots of deployment. So you can keep your configuration and all your mappings into code. You don't have to keep them in the database. So that's a good thing to use. Best practice. Okay. So now I'm going to talk a bit more about Drupal and sparql. So this is the architecture that we use. So for those of you, first of all, sparql is, you may not be familiar with sparql. It's the query language that we use for querying RDF data, for querying Drupal data. So it's equivalent to SQL for relational database. And sparql is both a language, a query language. It's also a protocol for retrieving results. And the way this works in Drupal is that because Drupal works on a relational database, like I'm showing here in the center at the center of this diagram, all the data, at least until Drupal 7, all the data is contained in this relational database. So obviously we don't provide a sparql endpoint over this database. So the same way we have Solar backend for search, and that's a separate module. I'm not going to go into details today, but it's just to give you a similar approach. So the Solar module is for improved and faster full text search and faceted search. The way Solar works is that Drupal will send its data as JSON into the Solar backend. The Solar backend will index this data and can answer search requests from the Drupal site later on. So what's important here is the fact that Drupal will rely on a separate backend for specialized jobs, such as full text search. And for full text search, we rely on Solar. Now, for graph search, for sparql queries, we rely on also on a specific backend called an RDF store or a Drupal store. And similarly, we send data to that Drupal store, and that Drupal store also exposes the data via a sparql endpoint. So when we send sparql queries, we are executing these queries against the RDF store, which is optimized for answering these queries. So I've got the URL of the module. It's called RDF Indexer, and I also wrote some documentation explaining how to set it up. So once you've installed RDF Indexer, you get depending on which RDF store you're using, and again, I forgot to mention here, the RDF store that you use can be any kind of store. Right now, I'm using R2 for this demonstration. That's the only one that has been integrated with Drupal, although I'm hoping we'll have more later on. But so now it's just R2. But think of it as just a black box, and it could be any kind of store that can accept RDF data. So if you go to that store, and if you set up the store to publish a sparql endpoint, you can go to the sparql endpoint URL, and you can see a form where you can enter your sparql queries. And this form will vary depending on which backend you're using. This is a snapshot of the R2 sparql endpoint. So there's a story to this sparql endpoint module. So when I was doing my master's degree, I wrote the first implementation of a sparql endpoint module that was 4 years ago, and over time it was a first prototype, and over time I realized it didn't scale, and we had to redo a lot of the things that were already present in Drift. So I decided to rewrite the sparql endpoint module. So the old sparql endpoint module should not be used anymore. It was part of the sparql project. You should no longer use that if you're already using it, unless you really need it for some other module that it includes. But you should instead use the RDF Indexer.
Yeah.
There's a background noise there.
Yeah. What?
Someone could. If someone could mute, please. Okay. So RDF Indexer is the module to use. There's some documentation to set it up. In terms of functionalities and in terms of what's different from the old sparql endpoint is that we're now using the Search API so that we don't have to reinvent a lot of the features that Search API provides. For example, Search API can track all entities that need to be indexed. It provides workflows for defining, you can define what type of entities you want to index. If you just want to index a particular content type, or if you want to index just the comments, you can do that. It also has integration with Drush, so you can easily clear an index and re-index everything with the command line. It also manages the cron, so cron is used to keep track or to keep the index up to date with the real data from Drupal. And Search API is also object-oriented, so it provides a service class, and it's very handy for writing plugins that will support other stores. So we're taking full advantage here of Search API. And the RDF Indexer and the ARC2 module that is present on Drupal.org both have integration with features. So that means you can export all of your configuration, all of your server and indexes from the RDF Indexer into a feature, into codes, and you can share that or deploy that to your staging or live environments very easily. So here is an example of sparql query that you can run. This is a query to get a list of tags ordered by popularity, in a sense, or by comments. So it shows the most popular tags that have received the most comments from the articles that I wrote on my blog. So if you go to openspring.net/sparql and if you try this sparql query, and if you select HTML on the right-hand side, you will get the results that you see on the right here. So I might, okay, so this is the end of my slides. I just wanted to tell you how to get involved if you want to subscribe to our group. We have a Semantic Web group where we will keep people updated on the progress we are making for RDF and Semantic Web in Drupal. You can also chat on Drupal-RDF on RC, and each module has a queue system for bugs and support questions on Drupal.org. So if you go to, say, the RDF Indexer module, you will see on the right sidebar, there are links to access the issue queue, where you can find all the bugs that we know about. And this is just a final slide to thank you for listening. I do have a demo coming up, but these are just my information details for contacting me later. And so I could take a few questions now. If there's any question about RDF in general in Drupal, while I switch to my demo. And if you have any questions, and it's fine if we can also keep the questions for the end after the demo. So, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. There's a background noise again.
Yeah, that's one of the call-in users has a noise.
So I'm going to start from scratch. So I'm going to install Drupal 7 on my local machine from scratch, and just to show you a few of the features that the RDF Indexer module can provide. So I've installed Drupal, and now using Drush, I'm going to install all the modules that I need. So sparql endpoint demo is actually a feature that has all of the dependencies part of it. So it is arc2 store. This is the arc2 integration, and then RDF Indexer, and all the dependencies to make this work. And this feature also includes all the search API, RDF Indexer settings already set up. And then I'm going to log in. Okay. So I'm logged into my site, and the first thing I'll do, this is an empty site, so I'm going to create content. Is it fast enough? Or am I driving my browser too fast? I'm not sure if there's a lag here, or.
Oh, that looks good.
That's good. Okay. So I'm just going to create a random article. Okay. And this article. Okay. And now I can go to configuration. First of all, I have the arc2 store set up. So arc2 works or can work on the same database as my Drupal site, and I have set up this arc2 store on my Drupal site, and I have the sparql endpoint enabled. This is the path where my sparql endpoint is accessible. These are all the sparql endpoint features, and there are all the settings here. So you can also have a read API key. You can also enable write operations if you want, for the public to write to your sparql endpoint. So this is all set up, and now I can show you the RDF Indexer interface. So RDF Indexer doesn't really have an interface of its own. It's using the Search API interface, and here you can see the Search API server using the arc2 store, and then this is the RDF index, where the RDF index that's managing my indexing. So I only have one node on my site, and you can see it here. It's saying that it needs to be indexed, so I can just click on index now. It's done. So now if I go to my sparql endpoint, and if I ask to say what's in it, this is my node that's available in the sparql endpoint. This is the title that I just entered. Now, if I go back to the node and if I add some tags, like this, and if I save that, now if I go back here, it's saying again that I need to reindex. So you don't have to always go back to this interface. In fact, you can just use cron. So if cron is running on your site, and it's actually recommended to have it running, every few minutes, your sparql endpoint will be kept up to date with your data. So now if I reload this page, you can see that there are new triples that got added here. And in particular, so we have the DC subject linking to term 1, 2, and 3. These are the new tags I just added here. And so this is how the RDF Indexer works. It keeps your RDF store in sync, and therefore your sparql endpoint also is kept in sync. Now, I want to show you. Let's see if I'm going to enable the data generate module, and I want to go ahead and create a few hundreds of nodes, 300 articles, and I just want to show you that the indexing is seamless. So if I reload this page now, it's telling me that only one item is indexed, and there are 301 items total. So I need to index all of the nodes that just got created. So if I click on index now, this is going to take a few seconds, but all of the nodes that I just generated will now be present here. So if you look at the bar here, it's pretty big, and I've got maybe 10 triples in my sparql endpoint. If I reload this, I'll suddenly have many more. So this is the amount of triples we have here. And if I write a query to count how many triples I have, yeah, I've got 2,900 triples. So there's roughly from these 300 nodes, we have almost 3,000 triples. So there's an average of 10 triples per node. So this is this is basically what I want to show, and I can also show you the other example I had here. Sparql query here. Sparql query on my blog that returns all the tags and the number of replies that all the articles tagged with this term have received. So that's it for the demos. There's time for questions. Okay,
well, thanks, Stephane.
Sure.
I have a question about the speed of this. Is this have you and scaling? Have you you said that at some point your original module had some scaling issues, and how have you addressed those?
So I've addressed those simply by switching to the Search API, and the Search API takes care of that for me, basically. It's a pretty. I think it's just basically what a lot of modules do, and best practice is to try to reuse other modules or other APIs as foundation. So Search API I think it's a good API for managing any kind of search indexing, even though we don't use the RDF Indexer for search. The search happens on the RDF backend, not in Drupal like most Search API modules would do. So we only use, I'd say we might only use like half of the functionalities of Search API, but at the same time it saves me a lot of code. I don't have to write all of the functionality that Search API ships with.
Thank you. Yeah.
Stephane,
any other
great.
questions?
Stephane, I just had a quick question. Well, I guess there's two questions. One is, what's the likelihood that we might be able to leverage this RDF Indexer module to populate external triple stores? And if that's not possible, how can we help contribute or, help in that effort to provide that functionality?
So, do you already have a triple store backend in mind?
Yeah, like a Virtuoso, open source.
Yeah. Right. So you could write a plugin for RDF Indexer. So the way it works, the way it's architected is that RDF Indexer sits on top of Search API using a OOP approach. And so your plugin would sit on top of RDF Indexer and would implement a class and would connect to the Virtuoso backend. So as long as your Virtuoso backend has a way to receive data, either through sparql 1.1 update or through other means, that should work.
Okay, great, thank you.
And to give you an idea, I mean, so far on the real site, I've been indexing about 8,000 nodes, actually entities, because the site that I'm referring to has also field collections. So field collections and nodes added came up to about 8,000, and that represented about 80,000 triples in Octo. So I mean, I'm sure it could go higher than that. The previous sparql endpoint module, as far as I recall, was starting to choke at about 3,000 nodes, but that's problem solved now.
Great.
How many nodes would you start with?
So I have a metadata database that has about 500,000.
Okay, that'd be a use case.
Yeah, right. So I'm really curious to try this out and see how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I did some benchmark, and so the speed of indexing depends a lot on your RDF backend.
Okay.
So it depends how fast it is at ingesting this data. Basically, because the RDF Indexer will send the data and wait for the backend to respond whether it got the data or not. Arc2 is not the most efficient one. I just use it because it's easy to set up, but I'm sure Virtuoso would be faster than that. So to index this 8,000 nodes, it took me about 8 minutes with Arc2, and that's the one that Arc2 is using the same database as my Drupal site, so there's room for improvement here.
Okay.
And I did another benchmark where I was indexing the data, except I wasn't sending it to Arc2, and it took about 2 minutes for 8,000 nodes. So this is just the time it takes to load the node, but that's not counting the time that it would take to send the data to the backend. And so depending on how fast the backend is, it could take down to 2 minutes for 8,000 nodes if it's fast.
Great.
And these were pretty complex entities, or some of them at least. They were not small entities. Some of them had 1 or 2 dozens of fields.
Wow. Stephane, so I think this ESIP community here has, and I think Bruce mentioned this in his email, that we've got a ton of content at our fingertips here in this various sundry of projects that we work on. In what ways can we sort of engage in the semantic web community, or what would be the good channels for us to, I don't know, engage in this community and then just figure out how we can collaborate, or where our data sets might make sense to link to each other? Do you have any advice on that topic?
Right. So there are several things there. First of all, there's the linked data aspect of it. So, and that's something I didn't really cover in this presentation. But what you can do well with Drupal right now is publishing RDF data from your Drupal site, but your Drupal site might not link to external data sets. I don't know your use case, but out of the box, a new Drupal site does not know where to link its content to, or how to find other resources from the linked open data cloud. So there is room here for building modules that would help to link your content to other data sets, because that's the first condition for being so-called a linked data. So it could just be it could be a manual process, or it could be automated. So there is a library that can help you if you're interested in automating the. I'm gonna start showing again. Sorry. There is a library called Apache Sparql that can help you find extracting entities from your content. So Apache Sparql will take as input a blurb of text, and will try to match, to extract entities from it based on some data set that it knows about. So if you want to match against a DBpedia, you can set up Sparql with a DBpedia data set, and you can run the semantic engine content enhancement service to extract. I'm going to show you a demo here to extract entities from your text. So let me show you an example here. This is RDF ACE. It's a TinyMC plugin. And the way it works is it's going to read your content. The demo. So as you author content, it can detect the entity. So this is running the entity extraction engine, and it found, for example, Leipzig, Frankfurt as a place, Germany, and Christian Gellert as a person. So, and these are coming. These entities are linked to DBpedia in this instance, but the service that's running this WYSIWYG interface could also accept any kind of text via its RESTful API. So this is just one thing. You could also have a field. You could also set up a field into which you paste your rights from other data sets. That would be a manual process, a bit maybe more cumbersome, but it would work. So to continue answering your question, then you were asking about how can you get involved. So there are two communities at play here. The first one is the Drupal community, the Drupal Semantic Web Community, where because you're using Drupal, you kind of have to have the right modules in place on your Drupal site to expose the data. So I presented some of these modules, and for example, you said you're interested in working on the Virtuoso plugin.
Right.
So you could join. I think the best one place to start is the RDF Indexer issue queue. So this is the project, and as I was saying earlier, on the right sidebar, we have links here to the issue queue. So this is going to show you all the known bugs and other support requests that people have filed, and you can come here and create a new issue, and you can say, for example, hey, I'm interested in having this RDF Indexer module working with Virtuoso. So you could create, an issue, and how can we make this work with Virtuoso? And you can explain here your motivations and everything, and then we can have a discussion. Discussions look like this. So there's an initial post, and then there are comments, and we can go from there. If you're not sure where to post your question, you can go to the Semantic Web group. This is more for generic questions. If you have specific bugs, it's best to go into the group. But if you have more general questions about the future of something that doesn't exist maybe in Drupal yet, you can ask them there. And same process. We're going to have discussions following up your post, and that's how we work. So this is for the Drupal community, and then the second community that you're most likely interested in is the linked data community in general, right?
Right.
Once your data is available, once your data is linked to Freebase or Wikidata or Wikipedia, you want to tell the world that you're sharing your data set. So for that, I would recommend the public LOD free mailing list, and I'm sure you might be subscribed already. So you can go to this page. Is that here? Everyone? I'm not sure if that worked. This is where you can subscribe, and people will announce their data sets. There is also you can go to the LOD Cloud site, which will tell you how to get your data set added to this large existing cloud of data sets, which is actually outdated. This is from 2 years ago, and it's gotten so big now that it's hard to manage the buildings with diagrams. So I'm not sure how it looks right now, but and here there's a FAQ, and you can there it is. It tells you how to add your data set into the diagram. So
great.
This is another link, and this link is part of my slides. I think I have it in one of the slides. So I'll talk about the detail. And then there's also CCAN, where depending on which community you're interested in, you could go there and find a CCAN repository that would promote the data set. So if it's government related or science related, you can find it there. You can promote it this way.
Oh, thank you. And Stephane, this is Bruce. If we can get your slides, we'll put them up on the ESIP Drupal discussion page on the.
I can share them on SlideShare if you like.
Yeah. Okay. That's fine.
Okay.
And we're also recording this, so we'll put this up as a YouTube video. It's all right with you, Stephane?
Sure.
All right. Any more questions for Stephane?
I have one question. Can you give like a quick description of how the sparql views module works to do queries to another sparql endpoint instead of?
Yeah, I don't have it. I don't have it set up, but I can just describe to you how it works.
Mm-hmm.
So from an user perspective, basically you have to register a remote sparql endpoint where your data is coming from, and then on your site you create a view, which will be of a specific sparql views type. And so there's quite some setup involved in between where you have to register each field that you want to use in your final view. You have to register each field into an entity type that will serve as a, so there won't be any entity created, but it will just serve as a temporary entity for writing the sparql query and presenting or materializing the entity for so that views can believe that the entity exists somewhere. So there's quite a setup involved. Like you need to set up several clicks and to get there. But what you will get in the end is a view, like a table view of resources coming from the remote sparql endpoint. And I don't have anything set up right now, but I've used it a few times and for demo purposes, and it's working pretty well. There are some bugs here and there, but otherwise it's working pretty well. The only downside right now is that for every time you load the view or the results, it will run a sparql query. So you could add. There are some ways to add cache in between to save on sparql queries, but this is something you should know in advance. So.
Yeah, I seem to be losing Stephane, or maybe it's my.
What do you mean? I'm still here. Can you hear me?
So yeah. No, I think it's my connection.
So did that answer the question? I'm not sure if.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay.
So the sparql query itself is built through the field you add to the view.
The sparql query is built on the fly by views. So normally views comfort zone typically is SQL queries.
Yeah.
But sparql views will rewrite that and will instead write sparql queries instead of SQL queries.
Cool. Thanks very much.
Hey, Stephane and David, I think on that topic, the sparql queries, if I remember correctly, Lynn Clark had some really in-depth YouTube videos about how to use that sparql views module.
Yeah. There is some documentation out there. I'm not sure how up to date it is, but there is at least one video that should show that.
Can you share that URL with not right now, but
okay, sure, I'll find it for you.
Yeah. Okay. I want to. We have a few minutes left. I just want to move on unless there's another question.
The video is actually on the sparql views project page, which I linked from one of my slides. So there are screencast linked from there.
Great,
thanks. All right. Thank you so much for updating us on what's going on. Let me just ask a final question, and because we're going to get this in the summer when people are coming into our Drupal lab, which is our next topic, is that half the people are going to be there trying to explore whether they should move to Drupal. And so I'd like to be able to say, well, Drupal happens to be one of the stronger semantically enabled content management systems. Do you think that's a statement I can make?
Yeah, I believe so, yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm not sure. Yeah, compared to the major CMSs like WordPress and Joomla, Typo 3, it's way ahead, yeah.
Right. Okay. Great. Good to hear. And thanks again, Stephane. I just wanted, we have a couple minutes, and I just wanted to remind everyone that we have a full day of Drupal. We call it a Drupal camp, but the agencies prefer us to call it a Drupal lab because they're paying for travel and they don't want to send people to camp, I guess. So, and I hope that there are people on the phone who are coming to the summer meeting will come to this the day before the meeting formally opens. And I'm showing you we've got a very good agenda. We have half a day of some really great presentations and discussions, and then we'll have lunch, and then we'll have an afternoon keynote with Angie Byron. I don't know, Angie, are you still here on the call?
Yeah, I am. Hi.
Cool.
Hi,
all right. And before lunch, we're going to have one of the Drush maintainers is going to be talking about what's new in Drush and introducing people who aren't using Drush to Drush. And so, and then we'll end up with some boss to end the day, and then go out for beer. And as I was saying at the beginning, we have NASA's released 80 travel approvals for the meeting, so we are looking to have a fairly full meeting, and I think NOAA is going to be well represented, and hopefully we're also reaching out to the folks in the local Research Triangle Drupal users group and inviting them to come in as well. Angie, do you want to say something about what you'll be talking about?
Yeah, so what I'm going to be speaking about is the new version of Drupal that we're currently actively working on, Drupal 8. So everything Stephane just talked about is what you can use right now out in the wild there for Drupal 7. I'm talking about the next version of Drupal, which will probably be coming out either later this year or quarter 1 of next year, just to kind of give a preview of what's coming up and what's interesting. If you guys have suggestions on, any parts of that would be particularly interesting to you. I know I heard a lot about web services. I heard a lot about semantic web and things like that. But if there's other aspects of that you'd like me to touch on, I'd love to drill in on that with you. But otherwise, it's going to be kind of an overview of what's coming, just so you can kind of prepare yourselves for that. And then I'll also touch on, a lot of the stuff in Drupal 8 is stuff you can use right now even. And so we'll talk about, where some of those things overlap. So if some of this stuff looks really cool, you can use it in your existing Drupal 7 sites right now for the most part. So that's what I'll be doing, is just kind of giving an overview of everything that there is to look forward to.
Excellent. All right. Well, that's coming up in a couple of weeks. So any suggestions for Angie? Special requests?
Angie, I would love to hear more just about the configuration management aspect of Drupal 8 and
sure.
How that will differ from features, which I'm very excited about. And then I don't know too much about about this, but it sounds like they're using YAML a lot to do that. So yeah, I would love to hear more about that.
Absolutely. Okay. Yep. There's actually a lot of YAML in Drupal 8, and yeah, I'll get into the configuration system. If you're familiar with struggling a lot with features module, it should hopefully come as very welcome news for you. That'll be a good topic.
All right. I think we're just over time now. Any last comments or questions? Well, thanks everyone for your time, and we will next see you in Chapel Hill.
Yeah, looking forward to meeting you all.
Thanks,
Okay,
Angie.
ciao.
Thanks, Bruce.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Stephane. Thanks, Adam.
Thanks,
Angie.
Stephane.
Sure. My pleasure.